Hello everyone, I'm going to be giving you a talk about VEVE and Ecomi, and it has to do with them fighting the bots. So, as if you don't know right now, VEVE has a numerous problem with bots on it, and this is making the drops unfair, and people are upset at it. One of the ways to mitigate this problem would be you randomly drop the collectibles throughout the day. So for instance, instead of the drop being at 12 o'clock, it would no one would know and it would randomly happen at 2 or 4 or 5, and you could either have it be all the collectibles are dropped at a random time, or it could be a set amount. So for instance, it'd be like 100 at 2, another 100 at 2:17, and you can do that until all the collectibles are released. The pros of that are no one will know when the collectibles are dropped, so no one will have an advantage. People in different time zones won't have to stay up really late as opposed to other people who it's barely the morning or it's just normally throughout the day, and there will be less strain on the system when that happens. Some of the cons are you could just have a bot on VEVE and it constantly just checks if there's a buy now button when the drop is released. And in some ways, that's more unfair because if there's just a random person and they randomly check, well, the person that has the bot is gonna know when it's their opportunity to buy because their screen will change automatically as opposed to someone just randomly checking it. And the other con about this is people can't plan their day around the drop, so it'll be more cumbersome for those people. The next method is you can make a captcha, and a captcha is just a random assortment of characters, and you have to put in the characters within a certain time frame. Some of the pros are a bot can't read a damn captcha sometimes, and that's a caveat, and people will know when the drop is happening if they keep it the same way. Some of the cons are I can't even read a fucking captcha, and depending on when they say depending on when the captcha comes up, it could be more advantageous or less advantageous. So, for instance, if I'm on the app and there's a drop coming, does and we're on the buy now page, does the captcha show up before or does it show up after? Because if it shows up before, you put in the captcha, then you click the buy now button. I can see how that's helpful because then everyone gets a random captcha, and um, it it makes it to where at least in that way it's fair because you get that one chance for the buy now button or the captcha. If it's after you hit the buy now button, well then it lowers the upper bound from someone who has 20 devices to say if they won't be able to do all the captures. But if you only have 3 devices, you're still most likely going to be able to do all 3 captures within 60 seconds. So there is some. This one is like even about the placement of when you have to do the capture matters too. But like I was saying, even even with a captcha, some machine learning programs can still do a captcha, or they can still guess a captcha. So this is a machine learning program, and it was trained on different captchas. And for instance, this first one, I thought that was an R in the front, but there is no R in the front. So if I was going up against this captcha or up against this machine learning algorithm, I would have lost because I thought the first letter was a R, but it really wasn't. And I don't know how sophisticated these people are when it comes to making these bots. This would be very difficult, but it's not impossible. The next method would be making or doing lottos. So, for instance, you would have a random group of people. You would take a random sample from a group of people, and you out of that group of people, they get to choose if they want to buy the collectible or not. And don't worry about this picture. This is just about the electric field vacuum fluctuations. So fluctuations, randomness, that's where it comes from. The pros of this is this beats the fact that you have to click. You have the you're going against the bot based on the premise of speed. Bots are fast, so you're not really going to beat a bot. But the cons are, instead of just going against a bot, a person can make multiple accounts, and it's now that's a game of odds against numbers. And if a person doesn't want to make accounts, they can just make a bot that makes accounts. And if a if a person has, 1,000 accounts, well, they now are 1,000 out of the whole customer base. Those are their odds of winning. And nothing is truly random. And what I mean by that is if a person is able to figure out the code in which VEVE is predicting their or making their choices, you can sway what you're doing to choose to have a high probability of being picked from that sample. The next one is you can only have one device and it has to be know your customer. So now the pros are it's just 1v1. It's just you against one of the bots. And this method gives VEVE a way to ID the people who are using the bots, just in case they want to ban them or whatever they want to do. They have a ID on that particular person. The cons are it ruins the fun for families, so people won't be able to, like, if it's parents and their children, they won't all be able to participate in the fun, or fun, but they won't be able to participate in the drop anymore. And you're still going against a bot. So some of the ways you can find a bot is by if a bot is just clicking a button fast is possible. Well, if it's clicking 100 times a second, well, that's, or 500 times a second, that's humanly impossible. And if VEVE is collecting this data, then they'd be able to, say with a high probability that that person is using a bot. The other way is you can do statistical analysis and figure out the likelihood of someone winning X amount of drops in a row. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that a person is using a bot, but it tells you the likelihood that a person would be, how likely it is a person that could be using a bot. So, for instance, if you do 500 drops and one person wins all of the drops, what is the likelihood of that person winning all of the drops in a row, as opposed to someone who wins none of the drops? Well, most likely that person's not using a bot. And the other thing is with one of the methods in which a bot is being used is sometimes so for instance, I'll just show this video. So this is how one of the bots work. So you'll be able to watch. You click it, and it's just the buy now button is not even showing. It should be sold out, but it's able to still send the request to the app. So this is obvious that a person that someone's using a bot, because it's sending a request to buy now, even though it should say sold out. And if a person, like doing rebounds, I've only ever gotten that to show up like 3 or 4 times. And if someone is able to just send requests like that, now I've heard that sometimes you can get the buy now button to just stay like that. And again, it goes back to odds. But how often does that happen? And if someone is able to do that on every drop, and they're able to get the buy now button and for it to stay, and they're able to send like 200 requests, then it's most likely they're using a bot. So the statistical analysis approach is, this is just for a little more in depth. Say I have a coin and I flip it 100 times. 50 times I get heads and 50 times I get tails. Well, we know that the equation is the probability of an event happening is equal to the count of favorable outcomes divided by the total count of feasible outcomes. So for instance, for tails, the probability of the event happening is equal to 50 divided by 100, because we have 50 flips, and of those, out of that group, we had 50 tails divided by all of the possible outcomes. So the likelihood of that happening is 0.5 or 50%. And it'd be the same for heads, 0.5 or 50%. Now let's say we switch it and we say we got tails 10 times. What is the likelihood of this happening? Now we put 10 in the numerator and 100 in the denominator. Now we get 0.01 or 1%. Now, it's not saying that the coin is a fake coin or anything, because it's possible that this could happen 1% of the time. But like, using your judgment, if you're betting on something and you get 10 tails out of the whole time, you would probably be a little wary. And what you could do is you could follow the person around, and if that person is still flipping coins with other people or something, like if I was a person and I flipped a coin and it was bet or something, and then I go do this with someone else, but that person is still following me, and it happens again and happens again, you'd be like, well, that happened 3 times in a row when it statistically would only happen 1% with one person, but yet it's happening 3 times in a row. You can pretty much say, oh, well, D'Angelo, that coin is fake. Is it? I mean, it's just about like giving you a method to see, should I follow this person more closely. Now the next thing is, what happens if someone is found botting? Will the digital collectibles be taken away? As of right now, they're not NFTs, so theoretically VEVE could take them away. They could burn them, they could redistribute them back to the community, they could resell them. What happens after they become NFTs? What will VEVE do? And prior to them becoming NFTs, will VEVE bar those existing users? Because there's not really a reason to find someone botting but not do anything about it. The next thing is, what will happen to the gems? Well, since the gems are not a cryptocurrency, will they just take them away? Again, will they distribute them back to the community? Will they do some sort of type of event? Who knows? And the last thing is, what about their OMI? As of right now, I think that you don't have your seed, so that means VEVE has access to your crypto theoretically. Will they take your crypto away? Will you not be able to use it? I don't think they'll do this because that's a very draconian approach. My solution to this is, say you're on the app and there's a drop at 10 o'clock. They could do this either two ways. They could make it to where you're just in the app, or you have to be on the page where the drop is happening. The app auto selects the buy button for you. Now what you have to do is you just have to complete a mini puzzle, and they switch the mini puzzle every time, so you don't know what is happening, so you can't make a bot to really do these things. So for instance, one of these could be, click red and green, and then it's either that's like the version of buy now, or you do that, then it shows, do you want to buy it? After you do that puzzle, you get 60 seconds to click buy now or reserve it or whatever. Or the next one could be a different one would be just, click on Batman's face. So I think these it's obviously it's not a foolproof solution. Some of the pros are, but it is very difficult to teach a computer to do a puzzle. And obviously nothing is perfect, but it's about making it difficult for people to use bots so, like, for instance, a person might be able to make a bot to click green and red, but it's only going to work for one drop. And what are the odds that that they know that the drop is going to be click green and red, and you're going to be able to teach the bot to be able to click green and red? It's very, very difficult. Computers are really good at doing one thing really well, like a repetitive task, one thing, just do it over and over and over. But being able to extrapolate to say, oh, well, for instance, you could say, what does red and green make when you mix them together? A bot's not going to be able to do that, but a human can. I don't know what it is, but most people would be able to figure it out. And then the other thing, it could be like, oh, well, what is Superman's kryptonite? And then it could have like, I don't know, what is Superman's weakness? And it could be like kryptonite, iron, fire, or whatever. And then you would be able to click it. A bot's not gonna know. You could maybe tell a bot to randomly click a number, but it's not gonna know. Like, it's just basically a random chance. And and then some of the cons is, say for instance, it says click Batman's face. If I'm not really a DC fan and I click Superman's face, you could say like, oh, that's unfair or something. And then again, I can see why it would piss people off, because not everyone technically would know who Batman is. So that's one con. The other con is you might not know how to complete the puzzle. For instance, like I said, if it says, oh, what does red and green make when you mix them together? And say it was purple or something, and I was like, oh, what is it? Yellow? Actually, I think it is yellow. So say you mix red and green together and it's yellow, and I said, oh, it's purple. I could be, pissed off at that. And then, for instance, with the color one, if someone is colorblind, they won't be able to, do that one. But I think having people complete some sort of mini puzzle instead of having to click the buy now button, it it drastically defeats the purpose of having to have a bot, and it makes I in my opinion, I think it makes it much more fair. Nah, thank you for watching. Oh, also, if you have any other input that you want to add, don't be afraid. I like having conversations. Also, VEVE, if you would like to hire me for data analysis, that's all I do at my job. Not all, but I do a lot of that at my job. So I'm willing to do that if you want to hire me. Thank you.